Yes, hello everybody. It's been a little while since we've seen you, but yes, the Boise Bus is back, and it is that Friday feeling, because not only that, Celtic are back this weekend too. Speaking of being a while and being back, my friend here on the other side of the screen, David Logue. It's been quite a while for you, hasn't it? The house move from all hell has engulfed you for the last month or a bit, whatever it's been. But it's over now, and you're all settled in, I can see. It's good to have you back on, my friend.
I'm getting there. I know. I feel it's been what? Well over a month and a half since I was last on, I think. Not that anybody noticed, to be fair, let's be serious. But I just got to the point where I was like, right, the computer's gonna have to get all disconnected and packed away, and then the move happened, and then there was supposed to get internet the day we moved, well, the next day after we moved in, and the engineer didn't turn up, and it was just a long wait to get somebody in. And then when I got the internet, then realised that I couldn't connect the computer to the internet because it needed to be done purely on an Ethernet cable, which didn't have a long enough one to do that. But got one today. And here we are. Picked the perfect night to come back. It's Friday feeling.
Yeah, so mate. Yeah, good stuff, mate. Good to have you back, mate. It's been a long time. But before, of course, we go any further, folks, and we get into this show, of course, just remind you all to do all the good stuff that obviously helps the channel out massively. Hit that like button. Obviously helps with the old algorithm, gets us seen in more people's inboxes on YouTube. Obviously hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet, and hit that bell notification to be reminded when we go live. Over 4,250 at the moment, I believe, is the subscription number. So obviously we're looking 4,500 as the next milestone. Obviously get involved tonight in our comment section, like David's dad has done, who's currently in Dallas, Texas. Hello, Johnny. He's obviously he was on the last Friday show that I did, but yeah, he's out there in Dallas. I'm sure he's representing that Boise Bus shirt as well in Dallas. Some serious air miles on that shirt. Fair play, man. And obviously, you can share the link of the Boise Bus far and wide on any social media platform that be your choosing. And of course, head over to piesports.com and use the code BUS1888 to get yourself 12.5% off your order for all your tasty pastry treats. And so David, as we usually do on the Friday feeling, there's a game coming up this weekend, a rather big one. It's quite a tasty one, to say the least. It's usually a blockbuster fixture for Celtic, because out of the two hardest places to go in the league, it's usually Ibrox and Tynecastle. And yeah, we're back from this international break, and yeah, we've got Tynecastle, we've got Hearts, the jammed Hearts. We're expecting a tricky one first and foremost, mate.
I think it's always a difficult place to go, so you don't want to ever underestimate the opponent. The Hearts are obviously, they seem to be in reasonably decent form. Like I said, it's a difficult venue to go to. It's going to be less away fans there, from what I was catching up on today, which will always make it more difficult. They like that. I think they've started having like a wee ultra section behind the goal, so that obviously they'll be up for that. Season. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to expect to win. We've not been hitting all cylinders yet, but I like to think we've been ticking off the games quite nicely, and we seem to be going slowly up the gears with each game. The players seem to be getting on board with Brendan's ideas and tactics, and it's all starting to click. Like Hatati looks like he's starting to get into a bit of form, getting some game time with the Japanese international side. Kyogo gets a goal for them just the other day. It looks like it could point to another victory for us. So I'm looking forward to it, and it's just nice to have us back, man. Is that the longest international break of all time?
It did feel very long. Yeah, it's just something about it just seemed to drag in, but Scotland still did get the job done. For actually kicking a ball. So fair play to Steve Clark and the boys. They'll be in Germany next summer. But yeah, this game at Tynecastle, what I'm hoping not to see in this game is a replica of last season, where we had that humdinger of a 4-3 game. Pardon the pun, but isn't good for the heart, that one. That game was ridiculous, and I hope not to see a performance like that, where it felt like that day everything was just going to go against us. Like, that was the first day that we had the VAR, remember VAR as well. But yeah, the way that game was going, it was like, oh man, we're just destined not to win this. But no, we stuck in there, and obviously we got the win in the end, 4-3. But I say, hopefully nothing like that, and it's nice and business-like. You know, as Chris M's coming in and saying there, I believe we will be very business-like on Sunday, despite the efforts of the tight zombies kicking our players. Yeah, true. Coupled with some good old-fashioned dodgy refs. Yeah, well, hopefully we're not talking about that. I believe referee's going to be Mr. Nick Walsh for that one. Yeah, we've got enough opinions on that guy, to say the least. But yeah, let's get talking about team selection and so on, because yeah, it has been a couple of weeks since the team have played. So the last game was Kilmarnock. Yeah, surprise. What was a surprise to me before the Kelly game as well was I was under the impression that Joe Hart had a 2-game suspension. So when he turned up and played in that game, I thought it was a straight red card. It was 2 games, but no, it was obviously he was back for that one. So obviously
just because it wasn't a violent. Is it just because it wasn't a violent conduct or something? Was it just because last man they get just the 1 game?
Aye, it's must be something like that because yeah, I was under the impression it was 2 games, but no, he was back. So there's no point in even dwelling on who's going to be the goalkeeper. There's no debate this time. Obviously Scott Bain, he played his 1 game that he had to play. Essentially, started it, and even though when Jono was on a couple of weeks ago, he proposed the idea that maybe, just maybe, given Brendan Rodgers' track record, that Scott Bain might retain his place, but no, that's definitely not the case. Joe Hart's back, so there's no point in looking there at all. But obviously the centre-back pairing now, players are starting to come back from injury. Thankfully, it seems like we're actually getting over this hurdle of injuries, but I did see this week, you know, Brendan Rodgers did mention that one Mike Nawrocki, the forgotten man, is now back in training and he's raring to go, apparently. I don't think he's quite doing Kyle Lafferty style star jumps outside the manager's office, like Derek McKinnon said last season about Lafferty, but Nawrocki is apparently raring to go. But here's the thing, it's Scales' jersey to lose right now, isn't it, David? There's no way that you can just drop William Scales at the moment.
No, and I think it would be very hard. I think Scales would feel very hard done by if that was the case. And Mark, the Judge Cairney, has always said, you know, we aren't running a charity here. But I think we're past the point where it's just a case of Scales is just playing because he has to. I think Scales is playing now because he's earned the right to play there, and he hasn't done anything wrong at all to suggest that Nawrocki gets straight back in the side, albeit he was one of our more expensive summer signings. But yeah, he's gonna have to wait and be patient and earn his place. I personally think we won't see Nat Phillips in the side tomorrow, I don't think either. So I think it will be Cameron Carter-Vickers and Scales still. But like I said, like until Scales does something to merit dropping him, or maybe Nawrocki then begins to start showing in training that, well, look, Scales, you have done well and you haven't done anything wrong. However, the class is now starting to show in training that Nawrocki is going to take your shirt with the next game, then so be it. But until that time, no, it's got to be Scales for me. He's a man on form. You know, he reminds me, Phil, of Ralston's first season under Ange, where it began with you are our only right back option, therefore you will play. And he stepped up and he filled the shirt, and then it became a case of he's earned the new contract, he's earned to be in contention and for a starting position. And the same thing's happened with Scales. He was our only left-sided centre half option. Therefore, you're going to have to play. This is now you either sink or swim, and he's taken maybe inspiration from Ralston. Maybe, for all you know, Ralston's had a word in his ear and said, "Look, this was where I was 2 years ago. Take your chance," and he's done it. And it's going to be difficult until, like I say, Nawrocki begins to show that he is a class above. Like you could argue, Juranovic did, and eventually completely ousted Ralston at his right back position. That's what's going to have to happen before I think Scales gets dropped. Because he's done brilliantly, even in the European games. He doesn't look out of place for me.
Yeah, no, totally. The thing is, well, he brings obviously a good bit of balance for being left-sided, which is something that, you know, when Starfelt was here, we kept on talking about how he's having to play on the side that he doesn't enjoy. But now we do have a centre back that seems relatively competent on the left side, and yeah, he's done fine. Yeah, there's still a bit of rawness there. There's obviously some mistakes. Not perfect, but at the same time, he's not made any massive clangers. So fair play to the lad that he's still there. But it's good to see at least that Nawrocki and that are coming back. Lagerbielke wasn't featured in the squad against Kelly. But obviously went away in that national break and actually scored a goal for Sweden. So but I'd imagine he'll be in and around the squad as well. But it's just good to see these guys starting to come back because, that start of the season there, it just felt like we couldn't even just couldn't buy any luck at all. We bring in Nat Phillips as an emergency cover as centre-back, and he then becomes part of the emergency by getting injured as well right away. And it's like, what the hell's going on here? Like, what is this?
Phil, Graham Tyrrell's made a good point there, though. Naroki is not in the Champions League squad.
True, yeah, that's true,
so Scales must keep his place for Hearts and Madrid, to keep the game time going. You could also, I guess, you could maybe see him getting subbed off and allow Naroki on to get Naroski Rao, pronounce his name, to get some minutes in the legs in the Hearts game, maybe if it's looking comfortable or whatever. But no, I think you're right, Graham. Like he totally forgot he's not in the Champions League squad. So you got to keep Scales. You got to keep the confidence up. You got to keep the minutes in the legs. Got to keep the performances coming. Yeah. What do you do with Phillips, Phil? Do you just obviously we've got him until January, but you sending him back to Liverpool? You're not looking to try and extend that.
At the moment, with the way things have went with injuries, one can just seem to crop up at any point. And obviously the reason they've done the 6-month initial loan or the half season is just to review it when it comes around, because we don't know what the situation will be like in December. I think he's played all right so far, and Gary Brown's even said that. He said, I thought Phillips looked solid. Not want to get pushed off the ball and can hold his own. Same, I think he's relatively competent defending enough, but he's obviously had a couple of niggles with injuries. Funny enough, when you look at the actual number of professional games he's played in his career, and he's 26-year-old or 25, whatever it is, and you're like, that's quite a low number, albeit he spent most of his career at Liverpool, and it's pretty hard to get into that Liverpool back line when they've got Virgil van Dijk and the form he's been in recent years. But I guess it's just one of the ones we just need to play it by ear. I mean, I don't think he's been that bad, but if he was to stay and all our centre-backs would be fit, you're talking about 7 centre-backs on our books then for the second half of the season.
When's that ever been the case?
I know, far too many. We'll go from having a shortage of them at the start of the season to far too many. Because obviously I heard the old Kobayashi getting mentioned today in a press conference. And I think Brendan just I think as Mark said in the chat, he gave the diplomatic answer, sort of polite, thanks but no thanks. Essentially, no, he's not going to say he's not going to get much game time because he did hint that the boy was going to go out on loan before the August transfer window lapsed, and then obviously with the injuries all set in and whatnot, he was obviously kept around. But Kobayashi isn't going to get anywhere near it, and it's weird because when he was brought in, many people did think he was the heir apparent to Starfelt. Starfelt will be ousted in the summer, which did happen. Many thought, well, Kobayashi will be the one, but of course a lot were pinning that on, well, Ange Postecoglou is going to be here for God knows how many years, because he did say to us, you'll be surprised how long I'm here. We certainly were. But obviously then, Kobayashi has just faded away. But he did, funny enough, he played at Tynecastle last season in a Scottish Cup game. He came on at half-time and actually looked all right. But then it was that Rangers game, I think, that just completely ended him. But we're definitely going to see Kobayashi tomorrow. That's a definite into David.
Well, Phil, I'm thinking back on what I'd said about Scales being the only left-sided centre half available to pick from, which is totally nonsense because Kobayashi's been fit, but he's so far out of your mind, out of sight, that it didn't even cross my mind that, Scales has still got to try and push off Kobayashi for taking his shot. I just don't see. I don't see any way back in the side for him. I know Brendan said that he's not doing anything wrong. He's just got people ahead of him, which is just a polite way of saying he's shite.
Essentially, aye. Although FS is putting the fear into saying when CCV is fully fit, he'll be moved on. I hope it's not in the January window anyway. I hope it's definitely not that, but you just never know with the Celtic board. If there's money to be made, well, fingers crossed that doesn't happen. But that's why we've signed so many defenders. But hopefully CCV is here till at least the end of the season, and it's not a case he just up sticks and goes in January. But you just never know what's going to land in the Celtic board's lap in terms of bids for players and whatnot. But the fullback positions, Taylor, he's pretty much got that nailed down right now. I know there's been suggestions about Scales maybe moving out to left back at some point, but that's not happening. Scales is obviously sitting at centre back, and Bernabei is definitely, much like Kobayashi behind the back is not to be seen, and obviously Johnson being back is obviously a huge bonus now. Right back as well, because obviously he was started the season injured. But moving into midfield, would you expect it again to be a Hatate, McGregor, O'Reilly trifecta?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I was sitting there trying to think of who else would you play, who would you start, but right now I think like Hearts will be a difficult game on paper, I think. So you got to go with your strongest, most informed players, and right now, yeah, Hatate, O'Reilly just winning Player of the Month for the SPFL, the Kinch. So he's going to obviously start, and obviously McGregor, the captain, he's going to be in the team. So yeah, I can't see it being any other three. Mate, it's been that fucking long. I can't even remember who's in our squad.
Well, I would expect that to be the starting three as well. But on the subject of one of those guys, because obviously it has been a while since we've had a bit of disjointed schedule on the bus for the last 2 weeks. But the Kelly game was the last domestic one, and by far and away the best performance Hatate put in. He was phenomenal that day. He looked like he was on it. And what the weird thing was in the stadium as well, because obviously that day was pretty bad weather-wise, and the crowd. I mean, there was empty seats there. It wasn't hugely empty, but there just seemed like quite a flat atmosphere. I think the weather was just adding to it. Everyone just it felt like an energy around the stadium where a lot of people just couldn't really be bothered. They were just there because they had to. They were obligated to, season ticket holders. But it was like the performance he put in that day deserved a lot more applause. But it just felt like, man, a lot of people missed out the day by not getting to the game. I say there was quite adverse weather conditions that day where the rain just kept coming and coming. But Hatate that day, yeah, when he is on it, there's a whole new dynamic to this team, the way he runs that midfield. And I mean, his goal in particular, just to be sort of quick footwork he did to bamboozle the guy, and then just putting in the bottom corner from just outside the area. But that's so crucial that, and I mean, it's no coincidence as well that he's got that all sorted with the new deal and stuff like that as well. Then he puts in a performance like that not long after. So you'd like to think that that's him now. If that's been what's been bothering him the time, David, now that he's settled, and we can see that a lot more from him.
Yeah, I managed to catch some of that game. I was actually in Prague. I was sitting in an Irish bar in Prague, and they weren't showing the game. They had 5 tellies in this one room, and all 4 of them out of the 5 were showing the Man United Brentford game, and one was showing the Wales rugby team. And I asked, "Are you going to put the Celtic game on?" But I just work here, is what I got told. I'm like, yeah, I know, that's why I asked you, but no bother. So I sat and watched it on my phone. I managed to see that particular moment with Hatate, and all I said out loud in the bar was, he's back. He's back. That's what we've been missing. And I think didn't Rodgers say after the game that he'd had a word with him, and he said, that's the type of intensity that we need to see from you. And obviously he did that, and that he reaped the rewards of that. And I think Rodgers might have put an arm around him and said, look, that's what I'm talking about. You keep doing that, and the form will come back, and the performances will come back. And if it is a case of you're looking for a big money move in the next 2 years or next year, then, well, this is how you'll get one. Not by stropping about and sitting on your arse waiting, hoping that your ex will take you to Spurs or whatever, that's not how you're going to get your move here, son. There's plenty of midfielders that we will pick from. But it was that was that wee moment when you're like, yes, Hatate's back. But yeah, like I think you said that the whole contract thing in the background might have been playing a part. And obviously you never know, like you might have been going, I'm not wanting to get myself injured here or whatever, in case I do get a last minute move. But as soon as the ink dried on the contract and Rodgers had that wee word, his little, beautiful human being conversation. Tassy, you can really do it really well. The lips start going. I think that was it. He's like, yes, I'm back. And it was a great performance. Yeah, it was brilliant. And obviously, if you can get Hatate playing on form whilst we're seeing the best of Matt O'Reilly at the same time, sprinkled with a bit of Callum McGregor doing his thing. I know he's not been in the best of form lately, but once he gets up to scratch, that's a frightening midfield, mate. That's frightening.
Yep. The thing is with McGregor as well at the moment, just coming back from obviously the Scotland duty there without the knowledge that they've qualified. I think I'll give Callum McGregor a wee perk up as well, because I know a lot of Celtic fans and a lot of just football fans across the country hate international football. It's all about club, but for the players, the chance to play in these tournaments is obviously like, for a country like Scotland who don't qualify for many of these things, this is a bit of a purple patch we're having at the moment. But yeah, he's obviously going to be playing in that next summer, so that surely should give McGregor a bit of a perk up now, knowing that that's waiting for him at the end of the season, because there's no reason why he wouldn't be in the team next year. It'll be McGinn, McTominay, and McGregor in the midfield three for Scotland next summer. So he's got that as well in the back of his mind to look forward to. So I think you'll see, you're right to say, McGregor's performances have been a wee bit below par from what we expect, but I think that'll give him a wee buzz, don't you think, David?
Oh yeah, remember, I'm sure he was the only Scottish player to score a goal at the last Euro competition.
He actually was, yeah.
So I missed that. I go to the toilet and fucking score. I missed the only goal that Scotland scored at the Euros was at the toilet. But yeah, so yeah, you're right. I think this will probably be his last chance of a major competition with Scotland. So he will be making sure that he's playing his way into the starting 11. I think you're right. He will be in there, but you can't. There's Scotland have got a good midfield, so he's going to have to play out his skin to stop the likes of Billy Gilmore or one of the other young lads getting taking that position, because he's no spring chicken anymore, Callum McGregor.
That's true.
There's a lot of young midfielders coming through, so he's going to have to make sure that he's playing out his skin to make sure that he is at least on the plane to Germany. I think he will, but like I said, they will give him a bit of I've got something to play for in the summer now. Not that he's not got anything to play for here. That's not what I'm suggesting, or that he feels that way. But just a little shot in the arm that he maybe needs something new, a new challenge that will excite him and make sure that he's. I need to make sure I'm on form. Not to mention we've got some good midfielders in our Celtic squad that is McGregor undroppable? Well, he wears that captain's armband. And we've been conditioned to believe that he isn't. He is undroppable, but I'd like to think, a manager like Rodgers, if you're not playing up to scratch, he will do something about it.
Aye.
I don't think he's got favourites, Rodgers. You can always argue that Ange maybe, it doesn't matter how poor Kyogo would be playing, not that he ever played very poor often, he wouldn't be dropped. So I don't think you would get that from Rodgers. How likely would it be that McGregor would get dropped? Very. So, but no, that's a frightening midfield there, Phil. And it will be difficult for the other guys to get in there. But then that's what competition breeds. It makes you be a better player. So it's only good for Celtic if all those three are all ticking at the same time. Bring it on, mate. Bring it on.
Aye. Well, the thing is, with Hatate being back to good form and hopefully continues that's going to benefit McGregor as well, and O'Reilly in that midfield. However, let's just quickly take a look at something else, something that I don't think we really talked about in this season so far. But Hetty's brought up the point, if we can get 9 points in these next 3 league games, which is Hearts, Hibs and St Mirren, it'll be one of the best opening quarters of a season we've had, considering the list of away fixtures we've had. Now, David, you got your tinfoil hat handy? Because I know this is something that a lot of people have. I try and find it in the boxes from your house move somewhere. What do you make of the fixture computer? Because I know at the end of the day we've got to play these teams, right? And the way it works out, we've got them away. But Hearts and Hibs back to back away in the first half season. I mean, I know we're going to have to play Hearts and Hibs somewhere in the first 11 fixtures, but back to back as well. Interesting, isn't it? 2 trips to Edinburgh. Pretty tough one, but so far we've had to go to Pittodrie, we've won. We've went to Ibrox and we've won. We've went to Almondvale and we've won, which is a ground that we've been pretty rubbish at over the last few years. So far we've navigated all these ones, but this, I think, is a huge hurdle, especially with a Champions League game now sandwiched in between it. But yeah, a trip through to Edinburgh twice in a week, and one of the grounds, keep in mind, Brendan Rodgers hasn't won at Easter Road, so hopefully that changes next week. But yeah, what did you make? Because as soon as the fixture list came out, and I did look down, I wasn't concerned about the Rangers games or anything. The one that stood out to me as soon as I saw it, I went, Tynecastle and Easter Road back to back. Like that is pretty brutal. And I know in the third part of the season, when we go into fixtures 23 to 33. We'll have to play them again, but I don't think it's back to back this time. The order's different. But I was like, geez, oh man, that's a hell of a double header to have in the space of a week. But what do you think of that one? Do you buy into the whole, they're trying to, this is all part of the big conspiracy? Because we do have to play them at these grounds. But yeah, one after the other just seemed a bit, geez, don't see that happen too often.
Nah, I don't think too much into it. But to be honest, I didn't even realise we were playing Hibs right after we played Hearts away. So we're going to have to go there at some point, just as Rangers have to go there at some point, and vice versa. All the other teams. And I'll probably come back to bite me in the arse that I'm saying this live on YouTube. But Hibs are shite, mate. I'm not worrying about Hibs. That's not the same Hibs that Brent. Like they had a decent run of form now and again, but like right now they're not up to much, are they? Really? Like, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, and I know that'll probably come back with egg on my face for saying that, like, but they don't. Like, I mean, they lost Nisbet, and I know they've got that. Is it Rocky something, or he's meant to be quite a good. He's not quite a good player, him, to be fair, but they've not got anyone there that's really. Even made me go slightly. Oh God! Didn't want to see him on the ball. Even that Boyle was a bit. He's quick, a bit overrated. I'm not overly concerned. I mean, and Rodgers hadn't won a game at Easter Road, and that was against Neil Lennon's.
That's right. Neil Lennon had a surprisingly good record against us in that era.
He hadn't won it. Tony Macaroni either, had he, until this season? So he's knocked that off his to-do list, and I'm sure he'll do the same at Easter Road next year. But we focus on Hearts first, Phil.
Yeah,
one game at a time, eh?
Just when I saw it come up in the comments, and I was like, that's right, we've got this back to back, and it's something that we've not really mentioned on, because I've seen a few people in the comments bring it up and go, the random fixture computer, but in the day we have to play these teams, and realistically, if we are the top team, we shouldn't be fearing these sides. I mean, I've said that enough times about Celtic in the transfer window, and I hate to go back to it. And so unfortunately, we didn't quite do that this year. I always felt that, if we build a team that can compete in Europe, we shouldn't worry about trips to Pittodrie and Tynecastle and Easter Road and all these notoriously tricky places, because if we're competing in Europe, then we should be all right here. But
theoretically,
we're still a little bit off at that stage of competing in Europe, but we still should have enough in our locker to not have to worry about these teams when we're on the road, regardless of how intimidating the atmosphere may be at the wee tight grounds or whatever. We should still have more than enough to beat them. But anyway, getting back to the team lineup for the Hearts game, because the guy that I think we need to focus on as well, and Palmer, what a goal against Kilmarnock, like a top class strike. And again, I just felt like at the time in the stadium, I just felt like the atmosphere just wasn't great at the Kelly game, and it was like, man, this goal deserved a bigger crowd seeing it, a more of like a bigger ovation for it. Essentially, it just kind of felt a bit. I don't know if it was just, maybe it was also the come down from the Lazio game and the absolute disappointment of that night. Jeez, and then another thing as well from that, I couldn't believe this happened again to the boy, although this time it stood. But when that VAR check came up against Kelly as well for Palmer, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This is going to happen to him, is it? Twice in a week, 2 great goals, and then this. But I did think the goal against Kelly, fantastic finish. Just takes one touch, steadies himself, and bends it in to the near post instead of bending it towards the far post with his right foot. Just a fantastic strike, and hopefully more of that to come, because I do have strong beliefs that Palmer will be an excellent player for us, man. I'm starting to, get that vibe that he's picking up the pace now, and I think he'll go on to be a good player for us.
Oh, I think he'll get even Abada like numbers. Like he's kind of, and the reason I'm saying that is because I think we all know that Abada's like he creates and he scores lots of goals, but you don't see him do much else, if that makes any sense. He's that kind of winger that doesn't have a lot of tricks in him. He doesn't take on a lot. His decision making can be a bit odd, but he always seems to rack up the numbers. I kind of get that blended with a bit of Chris Commons with Palmer. Something about Chris Commons-esque about him, like he's not very quick, but he's lethal. He's just lethal, eh?
Yeah.
And he's not. The first thing on his mind is to to get onto his stronger foot and just leather it. I mean, that goal he scored against Lazio, I'm still not over.
No, I know, man.
It was just like the keeper. I don't think the keeper didn't realise it passed him. It was that strong a shot. And then obviously, like the goal against Kilmarnock, like you say, like that deserved more than maybe what it got in the stadium. But yeah, I like the look of him too. I think he's gonna. I think he'll do just fine. Certainly in domestic games. Where does he fit in though? Is he gonna? Because does he command the left side, and that will he will be the first choice on the left hand side? Because Maeda seems to be getting put out onto the right to make sure that he's still in the starting 11. And I know he's injured, so I don't know if he'll be available for Sunday. Maeda.
Oh yeah, that was at the start of the international break. He was sent back from the Japanese team because he had an injury.
Yeah. So I don't know but let's say he is fit. This is my concern. Right? Is I love Maeda.
I know you do.
He's
backing for a hat trick every week.
I'll back for a hat trick every week, right? But he's very limited, right?
Yeah.
Even on his stronger left hand side. So then when you stick him on the right hand side, it's even like you're tying one a leg behind you're tying his legs together almost. It's a bit like he already struggles a wee bit on the left, despite a lot of the good stuff he does. Then you're putting him on his less favoured side, you could say. Yeah. I still think he doesn't even like being out on the left. I think he's.
Although I would say that the goal we scored against Lazio came from Maeda being on the right hand side and just that drive and run in from wide.
Very true. Very true. But I still feel like he probably would prefer to be on the left hand side as well. But he's been shifted out onto the right hand side to make way for Palmer. However, the results are starting to show with Palmer that's probably the right decision. And I think he does take over that, because it was very much Maeda had that left side pinned down under Ange. But I think now that Palmer's come in, that's caused Maeda to be put out onto the right to make sure that he's still in that starting 11. But I think going forward, now that Palmer's starting to get on the end, starting to score and show us what he can do, I think he's one of the first players on the team sheet for Rodgers moving forward.
I think with the money that we spent on him, I think that he's got to be coming in to be a regular on the first team, you'd like to think. And I say the recent performances he's put in, I think he's starting to find his feet now. But as you brought up there with the Maeda thing, if he is injured, could be Yang getting a start, or will a wild James Forrest appear, or will an even wilder Mikey Johnston appear? I doubt it'll be that one. Who knows? You just don't know at times. But we have seen James Forrest appear out of nowhere in some games this season. But you've got to imagine Yang, getting a goal. But I don't know, with Hearts being it's that atmosphere again. It's that intimidating wee ground, Tynecastle. Is that a type of game for Yang? But in the day, if he's here and this is the type of fixture you're going to be playing, and you've got to give these guys a chance to see what they can do in it. So that's an interesting one. I'd like to think that Maeda is fit, because I would be picking Maeda right now just because of that pace that he's got and the way he can stretch a defence. But of course, if he doesn't make it, David, is it going to be Yang for you that gets the nod?
Probably, yeah. I'd say so. He's been playing Yang out on the left a lot as well. Even in that Lazio game, that really confused me. I mean, I think it's because Maeda played out on the right because of his pace up against the fullback, but Yang looks pretty quick on as well. So I don't have to, and he's meant to be more comfortable on the right hand side apparently. So I thought that.
A comment that came up earlier saying about Yang, he just lacks a bit of end product right now. Because I do agree, he's very, very quick. He's definitely got a pace about him. And there has been some moments where I've went, he does look quite lively. He gets on the ball, he's very direct. But it's just the end product right now. But it goes back to that word, project player. He
runs himself into trouble all the time, Phil. Siggy ties a blindfold on and just runs.
And just runs.
Just runs and runs and runs, and then he beats a man. And then he goes, "Oh fuck, that was class. I'm going to try that again." And it's like he turns back and tries to do it again. And it's like, mate, you beat that guy. What you doing? Get the ball in the fucking box. Like,
I know, come on.
Lift your head. Lift your head up, mate. But yeah, he's exciting, and I think he could really grow into being a decent player for us. I don't think he's Champions League quality yet, and I think he admitted himself he was very nervous in that game, which is understandable from being a young player that's never played in the fixture before against a team like Lazio. To be nervous and a lot of expectations on his shoulders that night, but that's what happens when you come to Celtic. You know, you came to Celtic knowing that, like, that's what's going to be expected of you every week.
Yeah.
So he either grows or he shrinks, and I think he will grow. Just needs to grow a little bit quicker.
Yeah. Patrick McGlot's came in, and here's this old debate that comes up with Celtic in domestic games. There's that magic number two up front, a 3-5-2 he reckons in these next two games is worth a try. But here's the question. I'll put it back to Patrick, who'll come back in the comments. Tells would it be O that would be partnered in Kyogo up front? It's got to be into it. He's the only other striker that we've got, essentially, unless Maeda. Could be Maeda, because we did see little hints of that in the... Yeah.
Maeda's his number 2 for me, Phil. I think. Yeah. I don't think... I mean, you've seen it umpteen times when Maeda's been running his cell into the ground and still have 90% of energy left by the looks of it.
Yeah.
He gets moved up front if Kyle was to come off before he brings on off. So that tells me that he's his second choice centre forward, striker, or whatever you want to call it. Imagine those two up front together in a 3-5-2. That would be. And then you've got Hatate and O'Reilly spraying passes and threading ball throughs. Oh, I'd like to see that. Like, who you try that against, I don't know, but I would like to see that. I mean, O's. It's getting more and more difficult to stick up for O, but then again, this season he hasn't had much game time to really show what he can do. I mean, he got 7 goals off the bench last year, and I think it was 21 appearances he made, only 2 of which from starting. Not a bad return.
Scored on our last visit to Tynecastle when we won the league that day.
He's a completely different style of striker than obviously Kyogo or Maeda is. I think what he's got going against him is he's not Giakoumakis for a lot of fans, and that's the problem. People weren't quite still on board with the fact that Giakoumakis was sold, and then you've got this boy that's kind of built in the same mould as him, and people are expecting him to just start doing Giakoumakis things. But Giakoumakis is a 28-year-old striker that's been in Europe his whole career, and now tearing up the MLS. Decide what you will with that, whether that's a league worth talking about or not. You can debate all day about that, but he still scores goals. And when you see him still scoring goals and then scoring a bullet header against Ireland, I start to wonder and go, see, O's not doing that. And I think that's maybe O's biggest issue right now is he's not Giakoumakis. And until we shake that fully, I think that's always going to be a bit of a weight on his shoulders. But does Brendan trust him? That's the big question. And right now, it doesn't look like he does, because if he did trust him, he'd be seeing him a lot more than 2 minutes at the end of a game and expecting him to do something.
I think it was the first game of the season against Ross County, what you said happened, where O didn't get on and Maeda get moved into the middle for the sort of tail end of the game. So that's a sort of thing he does, because O played a few games in the pre-season. A few people say, he looked pretty handy in those pre-season games. It looks like he might be getting more of a chance, but no, he's just kind of just faded into the background just now. But again, when the January transfer window comes around, will there be investment in the striker position? It's something that we said we need to look at. But who knows what they're going to do there? Because right now it's I mean, for the last how many managers is it that we've been sort of conditioned to have one up front? Ronnie Dyler started. I think the last manager to play 2 up front consistently was Neil Lennon in his first tenure with Stokes and Hooper. Yes. That was probably it, wasn't it? And then even when Hooper left, he still had guys like remember Timu Pukki on his books and Amido Balde. Remember that season with those guys? But then when it was Ronnie Dyler came in, it was 4-2-3-1, one up front. Brendan Rodgers, 4-2-3-1 again, one up front. And then Neil Lennon came back and stuck with Rodgers, but then he shook it up a wee bit in the season it got called early due to COVID. And it worked really well. We played 3-5-2. But then when we came back for the actual season, all behind closed doors, it was back to one up top, essentially, with Edward. And I mean, we were struggling that season all over the place. Guys dropping out with COVID. Edward was affected a few times. Griffiths would play. Just didn't look at the races at all that season whenever he did get a game. And yeah, Ange Postecoglou was very much one guy up top as well, two wingers supporting either side. So yeah, it just feels like it's been such a long time since we've had a manager who consistently will put two up front in a domestic game in particular, because some of the teams that we play, you should be looking at, we'll try and rack up the goals here, we'll put two up front. But again, you've got to look at the hand that he's currently playing and what he's got available, and maybe that again is a ringing endorsement. O isn't really going to be an answer, and Maeda, he prefers him starting out in that wing first and foremost, and then later in the game, he might get brought inside. But yes, it just seems like 3-5-2. The idea of two up front seems like such a foreign concept at Celtic these days, doesn't it?
Not even Celtic, Phil. It's across most of the big teams in Europe, even smaller teams. They don't. It's a bit of almost like a fashion statement now to play one striker. Remember, it used to be, you say, oh, it must be a nightmare being a goalkeeper because you're fighting for one position. Well, it's the same as strikers now. I actually can't think of a team, like a top team, that have two strikers up top consistently.
I think you're right. Aye.
Pep Guardiola's kind of, you could maybe argue it's been him that's created this new wave of, it's like, it doesn't matter who, you'd maybe change up your style and your formation depending on the opposition you played against. Yeah. But now it seems to be a case of, well, this is the style of football I play.
Yeah, and we're sticking to it.
We'll always go with one striker. We'll have the wingers. We've got the three in the midfield. We've got the four. We've got the inverted fullbacks or whatever. And that's it. One striker, and I'll have my backup striker there, and that's it. And it's just become like you said, it's like a foreign concept or a old dinosaur-like tactic to have a. You think you should play two up front or what? Be fucking Sam Allardyce's Blackburn now.
Mike Bassett, England manager. You ever seen that film where he goes, England will play 4-4-2, ladies and gentlemen? He storms out the press conference because it's seen as if, even then, and that film was made in 2002, it was getting called a dinosaur formation 4-4-2. So there you go. That's how long that was, over 20 years ago. But yeah, two up front, it does just seem like a pure foreign concept now. But yeah, I'd love to see it happen. I would love it, especially in domestic games, because again, we've got the teams that we play on the regular, especially at home, they come to Glasgow with like no game plan or to sit with 10 men behind the ball. So it would benefit us to have more guys attacking them through the middle. But anyway, we'll obviously when it comes to the striker, we know Kyogo's definitely starting tomorrow, and that's all well and good. So yeah, it's a pretty much rudimentary team. I don't see many surprises in. But of course, David, how do you think it's going to go then on Sunday at Tynecastle? 2:15 kickoff, I believe, thanks to Sky Sports and their scheduling. We've got a 2:15, but yeah, just any win will do. A comprehensive victory. How do you see it going?
I'm gonna say 3-1 Celtic.
3-1. Okay. Well, as long as the 3 points are on the board, I'll go. I do think we'll concede a goal because we always seem to, and we have a bad record of conceding penalties at Tynecastle as well. I think that we conceded 2 in one game last season, the VAR game that I alluded to at the start. Say no more of that, please. But I'll say 2-1. I think we'll get out of there. As long as we get out of there with 3 points, that's all that matters. Because, yeah, this is one of those weekends where we will not be playing before the noisy neighbours. And obviously something's happened in the news, David. We might as well just quickly touch on it. Because obviously Motormouth is gone now. But no more sound bites from old Motormouth Beale. He's gone. He's got his jotters essentially, and yeah, they've now got a new manager. I'm not going to pretend I know anything about the guy, but obviously they've went for a change. Again, I can't possibly go. Oh, I'm afraid. I don't know if I'm afraid of what he's going to do, and they're going to come roaring back. Just in case the Celtics keep doing what they're doing, and it'll be fine. We've got a nice wee cushion just now. But I would expect that they'll get probably a new manager bounce because most teams tend to when they get a new manager in. So you've got to expect that they'll pick up the 3 points on Saturday. So just in case us going out, a bit like what happened last season for all the times they played before us, they would reduce the gap a wee bit. That'd be the highlight of their weekend. Then we would just go out the next day and just go, back in your place, Rangers, push them back the way. But yeah, obviously, are you gutted to see Michael Beale go? You're going to miss his crazy sound bites that he was giving us, because he was definitely giving us, as being on a podcast, a bit of content, wasn't he, in terms of the stuff he was saying all the time?
I mean, it was one of those bittersweet moments where I was like, get it up, yeah, when he got sacked. But at the same time, I was a bit like, miss that guy. You know, he just talked and talked and talked, and that was his biggest issue. And the media, they must have loved it, because he just gave them content after content after content, and his mouth was his biggest downfall. He couldn't help himself. He had such a high opinion of himself, and he really had no reason to have such a high opinion of himself. I mean, the guy put the cones out for Gerrard. I don't care. I know we used to like to kind of say, he was, Gerrard. It was more to kind of play down Gerrard's achievement of winning the league by saying that obviously he wasn't the brains behind it. But to even when the Rangers fans started to believe that and go, he was the brains behind stopping the 10 on that, it's like, come on, man. He put the cones out. He put the cones out for Gerrard. Got taken to Aston Villa somehow. I don't know how much. Gerrard must have had a good word for him, like put a word in for him to get that QPR. And there was how he got that job is still beyond me. They, like you said, the QPR, they got a new manager bounce, and they did all right for the first 7 or 8 games. Found themselves at the top of the table. How'd you get up there? Oh, I fell. And then the honeymoon period was over. Somehow Wolves are interested in him, and he goes and makes out that he's a man of his word, and QPR gave me the opportunity. Blah 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 blah. What's that, Rangers? Like, and off he went.
That was that.
How he landed that job is beyond me. And he was, it was one of the ones he enjoyed. He enjoyed to dislike him. But he's away now.
Yep.
And now they've got this, maybe you could say, maybe a more respectable figure in the hot seat now, who will probably be less of a sound. Well, it's early days yet, but I don't think we'll see as many sound bites from him. That we saw from Michael Beale. I've spoken to a lot of my clients in the last few days, like, you happy with a new manager? And every single one of them have said, I'd be lying if I knew anything about him. So maybe they're in a similar position to what we were with Ange. I mean, he's won trophies in Belgium, which it's a competitive league, no more competitive or lesser competitive league than our league. So I guess that's you could say that's an accomplishment. Didn't do so well at Monaco. I think they were quite glad to get rid of him. I think they were 7th or 8th by the time they'd sacked him. And then I think they finished 3rd by the time he was gone. So it's hard to say. He's still got that dross, Phil. He's still working with the same dross that Michael Beale brought in.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell. £6 million striker, Danilo sitting on a bench. Desser's scored 1 goal so far this season in the Premiership. I think they're hoping that he'll be able to move all these guys on to bring in his own. I don't think it'll work like that.
Exactly. I don't think it'll quite go that way. The money they've already laid out, allegedly, is the fees that they claim in the press. So, and then Beale himself, Motormouth, again struck and said, "Oh no, we've not actually paid that." But yeah, off he was. But this week we did see that one of the players will definitely still channel Michael Beale, because obviously Todd Cantwell and our very own Chris Sutton, Celtic legend, were at a war of words again. Chris Sutton absolutely clamping him. Fantastic reply to him again. But yeah, it's just like, well, at least we know if Beale's away, Cantwell will definitely keep that going, because he seems to be unable to keep his mouth shut as well. And again, as Chris Sutton said, do the talking on the pitch. And this weekend, so as long as Celtic do their talking on the pitch and just go out there on the Sunday, whatever Rangers result is on Saturday, just push them back again to arm's length. Just like, no, back you go, lads. That's what we need to keep doing. So it's a tricky couple of games coming up domestically with the Hearts and Hibs back to back. So if we come through this unscathed, done pretty well. But something that we've not went unscathed in, we'll just touch on it before we finish, because obviously there's another European game on the horizon, David. I said 2 weeks ago after the Lazio game, I was on with your dad on the Friday field, and I was talking about it. We had a blather about the Friday, the Lazio game, the Wednesday night. Obviously, crushing disappointment. That we played really well, I felt, in the second half in particular. First half, when we got the goal, we got a bit of a lift, but then Lazio seemed to just turn the screw a wee bit, and their pressing game was really good. And obviously they got back into it, but at half-time I was thinking, right, we're going to have to do well here to beat this mob, because they're pressing us really well. But second half, I thought we matched them so well. And then just for 30 seconds or whatever that you switch off, to the 95th minute and 30 seconds, when we just make one mistake and we get punished for it. Absolutely crushing defeat. And it's left us in a position now, David, where before the thing kicked off, we were all talking about, we need to get the monkey off the back of European football after Christmas, win some knockout games, try and go a bit far. And these competitions, if we drop into the Europa League, Europa League's even looking like a struggle at the moment, isn't it?
Aye, Phil. It's so deflating. I think I wrote on Twitter after the Feyenoord game, why do we even bother? And then I think I just quote tweeted my own tweet after the Lazio game, because that's how I felt. Don't know why we bother. So I'm a bit, I don't know. I was kind of trying to keep that out at the back of my mind for a little while, to be honest. I managed to watch that Lazio game, and honestly, man, I could regret. It was just like, I can't believe, and you've seen it coming as well. See when Carmen Carter-Vickers lost possession of the ball, you just knew that. I just went, well, that's that then. You just knew, because it's Celtic doing Celtic things in Europe. But let's, like I said earlier at the beginning of the show, look, we're starting to domestically, we're ticking away just fine, and we're getting better with every game. I think we can say we're getting better with the game, and hopefully, it's not just something you say at the end of a loss of there's lessons to be learned. Hopefully, we will learn these lessons. But this is Atletico Madrid we're playing next.
Yes,
this isn't this isn't the Feyenoord that doesn't actually look like that kind of the team that we thought we were going to be playing against. This isn't the Lazio that, again, Lazio they're a team in disarray. They hadn't won a game in weeks, and we should have taken advantage of that. And we looked like we were going, because, like you said, we scored. We looked good from the start. We scored, and then it was like we almost took the foot off the pedal a wee bit, and Lazio took control of the game, and they dictated a lot of the. And then we just didn't. We were a bit toothless in the second half. Didn't take the chances, and then obviously a bit of misfortune with maybe some poor decisions from Maeda. Don't know why he thought it'd be a good idea to try an overhead kick there, but he did. And obviously we know what happened after that. And but they said it's not Lazio or Feyenoord we're playing against. Playing against Atletico Madrid with a very good manager, with a very good. I know I did say before the campaign started that I didn't feel that the players that they have strike as much fear into the hearts of us as maybe they used to.
Yeah.
But then you see, it's still Griezmann, and it's still
Memphis Depay.
Memphis Depay, and good players, and we can't make these mistakes.
I know.
We can't stop. We can't keep making the same mistakes and say we'll learn for them, and then no learn for them.
No learn. Yep.
What was your thoughts on him bringing? I see him, Brendan Rodgers bringing Cameron Carter-Vickers on in that game. I was sitting there going, was it because of the yellow card that Phillips got, or was it just a case of I want to get Cameron Carter-Vickers some minutes
in the stadium at the time? Me, myself, and many people, nobody was questioning it because it's Cameron Carter-Vickers. And I said this to your dad when I was doing that Friday show. The whole time he was on the park, I felt comfortable. I just felt like he's winning everything. He's looked like he's just slotted right back in there. He's been out for a wee while. You're sometimes worried that they're not up to speed. But, balls were coming into the box. He's heading them away. He's winning everything. And I'm like, I feel fine. So in the stadium, there was no real sense of, he's taking a risk here. Nobody batted an eyelid at that at all. But then, yeah, unfortunately, it was him that gave away that ball, and it can happen to anybody.
You can't blame
it can happen to anybody, you know.
Yeah, it could have happened to anybody. And a guy, especially when he had lack of game time, and like you said, he did look like he hadn't missed a beat, but in reality, he hadn't played for a while. And the pace of the game maybe just caught him out for that split second. And like you said, you cannot make those mistakes against those teams on that stage, or you get punished. If that happened, then it was maybe, let's say, Hearts this weekend. Like, there's a chance there was a let off. There's a let off, a bit of a scare there. Tends to be the case, not when it's Lazio or.
I mean, they swarmed. There was like 7 players swarmed forward instantaneously as soon as they won that loose ball. And, you know, that's the thing. They've got the quality and the numbers to do that. But, like, you know, you get away with it against a team like Motherwell or something. You know, we would probably swarm them quicker than they would swarm us. But, yeah, they were on us right away. And, yeah, that cross to the back post. And bloody Pedro, 36-year-old, heads it in. But, no, you brought up, obviously, Atletico Madrid, Diego Simeone, the king of shithousery tactics. One of the things, David, that we always talk about with Celtic and where they fumble the ball when it comes to European nights is a lot of these teams that come with the streetwise attitude that catches us out. You know, we're just so like flabbergasted that a team would do this. You know, this sort of like the dark arts essentially. You know, staying down a bit longer for fouls. You know, just buying fouls essentially. Just time wasting. You know, we'll want to get on with the game. You'll want to try and keep the pace up. But these teams, I mean, Lazio did it a couple of weeks ago as well. When they felt a bit of pressure, you know, guys were going down, holding their face and staying down for longer. They never even get touched in the face, but they just stay down there, buy themselves a free kick. And it's like now we're coming up against a team who are the absolute kings of it. And that comes for the manager himself. And, you know, he's been in that job for a long time now. He's a success for a reason. And Jesus, man, I mean, I did say to your dad as well a few weeks ago, I said, also I was deflated after the last game, but I knew as soon as this Atletico game rolls around, I'm going to be naive and I'm going to be stupid. I'm going to be mad up for it on Wednesday night, just going into that game and come on, we're going to do this. Because if we have any chance, if there's to be any chance for Celtic to get something out of this group and get some kind of good football, this is now must win. I mean, the Lazio game was deemed must win, but now this is critical. This is like, you don't win this one, that's it. There's no way that we're getting enough points in the last 3 games, with 2 of them being away from home as well. So it is basically do or die on Wednesday. But say if Wednesday night comes, I'll be mad up for it. Hopefully I'm not walking out the stadium at full time with that same deflated feeling. Hopefully this is a change, mate. But how do you think they'll stand? I'll be honest, see, last year when they were in the Champions League with Ange, I wanted us to get Atletico Madrid because I wanted to see Ange's style up against Diego Simeone. But now, after the way things have went through so far in this group, I'm like, oh, this is the last team I want to see us playing right now. I don't want to see this. So
no, it's good that you still we still want to we still want to go into these games going, nah, I'm up for it. I'm looking forward to it. We can beat. There is no reason why we can't beat Atletico Madrid. We've got a good squad. We've got a very good manager. We've got a great support there in a brilliant stadium. The recipe for a result, law of averages, we will eventually win a game in the Champions League, right? We fucking will, right?
We'll do it
the
one
law
day,
of average. It's just going to happen, right? So why can't it be that game? You know, so we'll go into that game like we always do, with hopes in that we'll get the result. And we're gonna, like you said, it's a do or die. We've got to. This is a game we have to. You've got to win your home games.
Got to.
We've not done it yet,
no.
So we have to. But like I said, I mean, that manager, you just have to go back and watch that Beckham documentary on Netflix. He's literally
of course,
for one of the biggest shit shows, shithousery moments you'll see in football. That man's entire life was ruined. Almost ruined by one man and his shithousery, and he's bred that into his teams ever since. So you have to be ready for that. And you know what? That shit back out, man.
Yeah, that's it. We've got to stand up to that sort of stuff, man.
You know what I'll say is the Lazio game, came on and he showed little flashes of he's capable of doing that. Winning the going down soft, winning the fouls. I think he'll stick a couple of elbows in there.
Hopefully, it doesn't make it too obvious with VAR being around, or else
he's a bit too fucking keen, I think. But but he's shown that he's capable of that. I think even Maeda's got a bit of dig in him these days. You know, he might be the guy to do that, but we're going to have to fight fire with fire and hopefully, you know, blend a bit of class in there too. The fact that Maeda got his, not Maeda, sorry, Kyogo got his first Champions League goal will have given him a bit of there's a monkey off his back there that he's got his first Champions League goal. He's more than capable of getting another one. Does Atletico come to Celtic Park and try and win it, or are they going to try and sit back and frustrate us? I don't know where they are sitting in their league right now, Phil. I don't know what form they're in, if they're in any sort of like disarray, or is there
Patrick McLaughlin came into light in the mood by telling us that Morata is on fire this season. Forgot about Morata. We saw him obviously playing for Spain against Scotland.
Is he there again?
As is Griezmann. Yeah, Morata basically transfers from Juventus to Atletico Madrid all the time. He basically just keeps swapping Juve, Atletico Madrid, and he had a spell at Chelsea somewhere in the middle. But yeah, Griezmann and Morata and Memphis Depay, that's a front three that could cause us a few problems. But I say there's a lot of averages. We've got to get this monkey off the back eventually. Somewhere it's got to happen. But they'll go in on Wednesday night. They've just got to just believe that they can do it. And just see mistakes again. For 30 seconds at the end of that game against Lazio, they switched off one mistake and they capitalised on it. And if we do that again, we're going to get punished. So we need to turn that around. We need to eradicate the mistakes, and hopefully come Wednesday night, I'm coming out of that stadium absolutely buzzing after a win, because, yeah, as I say, if we're going to get any European football and have a chance of getting into that Europa League at the very least, then this is now win or bust, essentially. So, yeah, it'll be the place will be jumping, I'm sure, on Wednesday night. A wee early goal for Celtic would obviously get things going, but you know, can't wish too much at the moment. Just need to hope we get a goal at any point to win the game. But yeah, I'll be excited when it does roll around, but terrified at the same time, because they do have some really good players. Atletico, for me, they are the best team in the group. But let's see what happens when we. But first and foremost, we get Hearts out of the way on Sunday. So Sunday we will be covering that. PMP will be on there, because as Russell had obviously said on the community post, he was at a stag weekend, and then the wedding for said stag weekend the weekend after that. So, and also the international break was on, so there wasn't much to talk about. But PMP should be back on Sunday after the. I know David's also set up. I'd imagine we'll have a pre-show Sunday Blair. David, know that Mr. Sunday Blair is back.
Yes, I think so. I'll make sure that I've got this all set up. Make sure it's working for Sunday. But yeah, I will let you all know if that will be happening. It should be able to do a Sunday Blair now that we've got this finally working. So yeah, are you going to be on with me, Phil?
Yeah,
are you going to join me on Sunday?
I shall. Yes, I'll join you.
Will we see if the judge wants to come on?
But Joe hasn't been on the show in a while. Young Regan hasn't been on in a while, so let's get him on, because it's been quite a while. So we need to get Regan on. It's been a good wee while. So yeah, we'll get him. And yeah, we'll do a Sunday Player, and PMP will be on Sunday after the game as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be talking about a great Celtic victory, or just any Celtic victory will do, because it's Tynecastle. It's a bit horrible. As long as they win the game, that's all that matters. But yeah, we are out of here. Enjoy your Saturday, whatever you get up to. And yeah, Sunday, the bus will be back on for all the coverage of the Hearts game. So folks, we shall catch you later. Thanks for watching, and hail, hail.